Okay, MongooseJake here to do a product review of the Bucklos XM fork. Now, this is a fork with many variations and options on it. I have two examples here, and I also include some riding footage. But what I'm going to go over is my experiences shared with both my Hyper Explorer project hardtail and my Mongoose Ledge that I've turned into a project, and my experiences and my recommendations by the end of the video of if this is a worthy purchase and who should buy one of these if you were to buy one. Now we'll start off with my older XM on the left here. This is a 100mm travel model with this 29-inch, of course, because both of these are 29-inch models, as you can clearly see by the sticker here on the arch. Well, you probably can't clearly see it, but these are both 29-inch models. Both have quick release, because both the Hyper and the Mongoose Ledge I stuck with the quick release wheels. This has upgraded wheels. This still has a stock wheel set, but there's your similarities. They're both XM models. They both are 29-inch. They both have quick release. Everything from here up changes. This is a 100mm travel model with the so-called Kashima coating. Or Kashima. It's not. It's just they're trying to mimic it. But it has that. And it also has a remote lockout, which, bear with me as I turn the camera up to there. And that was purchased through Amazon. Now, I purchased this one directly from Bucklos. Oh, and straight steer tube. So straight steer tube. There. Back in frame better. But this one is a 120mm model with no remote. No need. The remote was just something I wanted to do for that one. But it does have a tapered steer tube. So the Bucklos XM is one that you can really pick and choose what you want. They do have, all kinds of options for wheel sizes, travels, straight or tapered steers, and even the remote lockout if you want it. It's there. So, price-wise, I actually got this for under $100. My total purchase price ended up being right at $100 after tax and whatnot. But buying it directly through Bucklos, which you can do. This one was closer to about 120. I think it was 115 or 120 a year and a half ago or 2 years ago on Amazon. So I purchased it like 2 years ago and then put it on this build and started riding it at the beginning of last year. And this got to see usage all through last season and so far this year. Whereas this, you've actually seen if you've been keeping up with my channel, this has went on at the earlier part of this riding season, and it has gotten months of riding on it to where now I've almost completed the build on the Ledge, while this was one of the first pieces that went on it. So now, getting to it. What adjustments does a Bucklos XM have? Well, these both have air adjustments, which are on the top caps here on the very tip top of the left part of the crown. They both have a lockout, the red knob there for that, and of course then the remote goes up to the handlebar. They both also have rebound. I'm going to grab my Hyper here and let you take a quick look. That is a machined aluminum knob, and it does actually make a difference. I know that seems silly to say, but some adjustments don't make much difference. This one I can feel. And I ended up settling in on 6 clicks from the fastest speed. Go to the fast side of rebound, and then I backed off 6 clicks on both of these. So I found out it likes to have on the quicker side. I think there was roughly about 20 some clicks, 18 to 20 clicks I think is what I found out on both of these. And actually we can do it real quick. Yeah, roughly about 18 there, and then I backed it off 6 to go back to where I was. So rebound adjustment, air adjustment, lockout. Some sellers try to sell this as a compression. It doesn't really do that. And the lockout, just to show you, with it locked out, you still get some movement. So it's not a complete total rigid. Now some people like that, some people don't. I tend to like the slight cushion you get with, I'm going to call it like a soft lockout. It means you get, it firms up very, very firm, especially once you get past that little half inch or so. And it takes the edge off of, if you accidentally smack a bump and you've forgotten to open the fork back up. But good lockouts on both of them. They both function the exact same way, despite the remote. Mine still has a little bit of a soft cushion there. The 120 millimeter has a little bit more so than the 100. It must just be percentage based off of how they get the lockout on the cartridge. But all in all, a roughly $100 to $120 fork. And let's talk about its performance on the trail. I got some trail footage I'll throw up on the screen. Small bump sensitivity is fairly good. Mid-range hits are quite good. And the larger hits are actually pretty good itself. The small bump sensitivity is better than you would expect out of a cheap air fork. It's not as plush as, say, a higher end air fork or a coil fork. For instance, a Sun Tour XCR coil I have is smoother than these. My Marzaki's are much smoother as well. This is actually not much different than a Fox I have. I have a Fox Float, older model, and this kind of keeps up with it in small bump sensitivity. Mid-range, it's pretty good, and my only main complaint is that on really big bumps, it will blow through the travel completely once you hit something hard. Now, you don't feel it. It doesn't have a harsh bottom out. But you will see when you come back and check, you'll see that your sag indicator is all the way up at the tip top. It'll be sitting right up here after pretty much every single ride. And then I roll it back down. So that means the 120 millimeter model, I bottom it out pretty much every ride. But I don't feel it harshly bottoming out. But it does. It does bottom out all the time on me. And of course the 100 millimeter model, it does as well on your typical mix of, say, partial green, mostly blue, with a black run here or there tossed into my ride. That's how my rides normally go. I got a couple of green trails that I have to connect to about 8 miles of blue riding, and then there's about a mile of black mixed in. And that's pretty much my typical trail ride. A good 12-mile ride with 75-80% of it being blues. But these have seen this, and I have the highest praise of neither one have had any issues. This one is the more aged model, and in over a season and a half of riding with a few 100 miles on it, not a single problem with this fork. I've rode it enough that the coating is starting to be dulled down here. You can actually pick that up on the camera, at least I can through the viewfinder. It's a little dulled down here, but still looks fresh the rest of the way. This one I did not do the coating. I didn't want to do that on that one. And of course, it only has a few months of riding on it, and it's been quite good. So my rating would be, not considering costs, a 6 out of 10. Because no, it doesn't have the most sophisticated dampening, and you can tell when you're really truly riding, it is pretty lightweight, and they do have effective adjustments. But the dampening isn't the most sophisticated. And outside of that, there's not really a whole lot of issues with the fork. A little less smooth compared to my coil forks, a little less smooth compared to my Marzocchi air forks, and really, I can't complain overall, but overall, I would give it a 6 out of 10. Considering cost, I would give these more like an 8 out of 10, 7.5 or 8, because they are so inexpensive. And they've been reliable for me so far. So the Bucklos XM fork, good for the money, good for a budget rider, good if you're just going to cruise single track. If you're the typical person, you know who you are, that you're riding the single track, you're not hitting every ramp, every stunt, every jump, and you're not bombing down hills like crazy, but you're out riding a 10-mile single track ride, you can certainly get away with these. And that's how I would feel with it. You can get away with them. They're not bad. And you don't need to go broke with anything more than this if you're just going to ride some normal green-blue single track. And you know who you are. If that's you, these can suit you. And that's how I feel about them. So hopefully this wasn't too long. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And thanks for watching.